Imagine graduating college believing you'd pulled it off on grit and student loans, only to discover, over tiramisu, that someone's been funding you all along, and the cash never reached you. I'm Jennifer Blake, 22, communications major, straight A overachiever. Tonight, my Nana stands to toast me and drops a bomb. She sent $1,500 every month for my tuition. The room falls silent, my parents' smiles freeze, and I, utterly blindsided, can only whisper, I never got any of it. What would you do if the people you trust most swallowed your future one check at a time? Stick around, hit that like button, and tell me in the comments, because my story is just getting started. Graduation day should have tasted like victory. Instead, it tasted faintly of basil and betrayal. I'd chosen Vittoria's Trattoria, the little brick-walled spot downtown San Antonio, where string lights glow like captive fireflies. My plan? Celebrate the 4-year marathon I'd just sprinted. Double major, part-time barista shifts, 0 days off. Dad joked that he'd auction my cap and gown to cover the last of the bills. I laughed along, because bills were the sad soundtrack of our household. Nana Rose arrived in her powder blue suit, eyes sparkling with that I brought a secret glint. She clinked her water glass. Family, a minute of your ears. And Jen, a lifetime of your forgiveness. She winked at me. My cheeks warmed. She's always been the dramatic one. I promised your late grandpa I'd back our girls' dreams. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a neat stack of canceled checks, rubber-banded like a deck of regrets. Every month since freshman year, $1,500 straight to Jennifer's tuition account. And look how brilliantly it paid off. Forks froze mid-air. Mom's mascaraed eyes darted to Dad. His knuckles whitened around a breadstick. The silence felt like a missing stare. One more step and somebody would break an ankle. I forced a smile. Nana, that's beautiful, but I never got those funds. Cue the record scratch. Dad coughed. Mom's wineglass chimed against her plate. What do you mean you never got them? Nana's voice cracked. Half confusion, half rising storm. I swallowed the knot in my throat. Stay calm, Jen. Facts first. Freak out later. All 4 years I covered tuition, with scholarships, loans, and about 1 million mocha lattes. If money was sent, the school never credited my account. Mom dabbed her napkin, avoiding my gaze. Sweetheart, it must be some banking mix-up. Yet Nana's checks said pay to the order of Jennifer Blake, clear as daylight over the Alamo. My heart pounded so loud I barely heard the waiter set down the celebratory cannoli tower. Dad cleared his throat. Let's not ruin the evening with accounting errors. Jennifer graduated magna cum laude. Let's toast that. But the cannoli already tasted like chalk. Questions ricocheted inside my skull. Where did the money go? How long have they known? Why does Mom look like she's about to bolt? I caught Nana's trembling hand. Can I borrow those checks? I'll track this down tomorrow. She nodded, eyes glassy with hurt. Of course, darling. I want answers too. And right there, under chandelier shadows and the scent of roasted garlic, the mission that would consume my summer crystallized. Find the missing $72,000 and uncover the truth, even if it shattered the people I love. I raised my water glass, voice steadier than I felt, to family and to honesty wherever it leads. Dad's reply sounded like a forced chuckle. Mom's smile never reached her eyes. Somewhere deep inside, a door of childhood trust clicked shut. The night air outside Vittoria's felt heavier than August humidity. I gripped Nana's stack of checks like a fragile relic, while Dad herded us to the car, mumbling about early flights and big days tomorrow. Mom floated beside him, whisper quiet, eyes fixed on anything but me. Back home, our beige 2-story on Larkspur Lane, porch lights threw shaky halos across the driveway. As soon as the front door clicked shut, I exhaled the question that had been boiling since dessert. Where is the money? My voice echoed against framed family photos. Toddler me, missing teeth, Disney World 2010, Dad in goofy ears. Tonight, every smiling snapshot felt scripted. Dad loosened his tie. Jennifer, it's late. Let's talk when we've all cooled off. Cooled off? My skin was February cold already. No, Dad. Nana's been wiring $1,500 every month. That's 72 grand. I've been juggling classes and graveyard cappuccino shifts while, what? You two squirrel away tuition in some mystery fund? Mom sat on the sofa, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her dress. Sweetheart, nothing was squirreled away. It was reallocated for the family. Reallocated. Corporate word, slippery and sanitized. I pictured my exhausted 18-year-old self collapsing after double shifts, believing sacrifice built character. Turns out it built someone else's safety net. For the family. The words tasted like tin. I am family. Why didn't anyone tell me? Dad pinched the bridge of his nose. Because you had enough stress, Jen. Applications, internships. Spare me the martyr speech. Anger buzzed so loud I felt electric. Tell me where the checks went. He exchanged a loaded glance with Mom. She folded her hands, spoke softly, like calming a feral cat. We needed help covering certain pressures. Your father's hours were cut. Insurance, the house. This wasn't about stealing from you. Yet the school never saw a penny. My loan statements prove that. Mom's eyes shimmered. Everything we did together. For us to stay afloat. Funny, I shot back. My financial aid office never mentioned keeping the Blakes afloat scholarship. Silence sucked the oxygen from the room. The grandfather clock ticked like slow-motion applause. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Dad, look at me. Did you deposit those checks into your own account? His jaw worked, words trapped behind clenched teeth. We deposited them into our account. Temporary measure. We intended to repay. When? I cut in. Before or after interest capitalized on my student loans? Before or after Nana found out? Mom rose, tears wobbling. Jennifer, please. You don't understand the weight we carry. I understand carrying weight, I hissed, thinking of 4 a.m. latte spills and skipped meals. I just didn't realize it was yours. Dad's temper flashed. Watch your tone. We are still your parents. And parents protect, not pilfer, I countered. The lamp beside him flickered. A power surge or cosmic sarcasm, hard to tell. In its brief shadow, I saw how pale he looked, shoulders bent. For half a heartbeat pity nudged my fury. Then I remembered Nana's trembling hands. Deep inhale. Okay, I said, voice steadier. Tomorrow, first light. We sit down with bank statements. Every deposit, every withdrawal. I deserve transparency. Mom dabbed her cheeks. We'll talk, but you need to rest. Emotions are high. Rest won't erase math. I turned toward the stairs, pulse thudding. 6 a.m. kitchen table. Don't be late. Halfway up, I paused, hearing murmur low, arguing below. Dad's baritone, Mom's choked whispers. I caught fragments. She was never meant to know. I told you the letters, then hush. Letters? A chill pricked my spine. Questions crowded my mind like reporters after a scandal. Why mention letters? How deep did this rabbit hole go? I shut my bedroom door, but walls in this house are gossipers. I heard drawers slide open in Dad's study, paper rustle, a sharp curse. Did they really believe truth could be buried under midnight and manila folders? I slipped on headphones to drown them out. Lo-fi beats couldn't muffle betrayal, but at least it blunted the sting. I opened my banking app, scrolling through 4 years of transactions highlighted in red interest. Each number was a reminder. Someone had paid, just not the college. Family first. They etched that phrase into every birthday card. Tonight it felt like a brand, hot and humiliating. Before sleep claimed me, a single vow carved itself into my thoughts, clear as Nana's handwriting. I will find every dollar, every lie, every hidden letter, no matter whose comfort it jeopardizes. Morning came like a slap. Sharp, fast, impossible to ignore. I didn't sleep so much as stare at the ceiling, heart pounding out Morse code I couldn't decipher. By 5:50 a.m., I was already downstairs, gripping a mug of black coffee like it could steady the storm inside me. The kitchen smelled like toast and tension. Dad sat at the table with his tablet, not looking up. Mom fluttered around the counter, too cheery, too fake. Sleep okay? She asked, too light. Like a dream, I said flatly. one where trust bleeds out slowly. Dad sighed. Jennifer, this attitude isn't helping. Neither is silence. I set the checks down on the table. So, are we going through statements? Or are we just pretending Nana imagined 4 years of giving? Dad rubbed his temples. I'll pull the files later. I have a client meeting at 9. Mom stepped in, tones syrupy. Why don't we all breathe? There's no villain here, sweetheart. But villains don't always wear black hats. Sometimes they hold your hand while stealing your future. I pushed back from the table. You know what? I'll find the answers myself. Jennifer, Dad began, but I was already heading for his office. His study door was closed, but not locked. Not anymore. I stood in the threshold, the smell of old printer ink and lemon cleaner wafting up like memories. It was the same room where I'd practiced my 8th grade debate speech, where Dad once built my first resume. But now? Now it looked like a crime scene with no blood, just secrets. The drawer on the right-hand side of the desk had always been his no-touch zone. But this time, I wasn't asking. Inside, receipts, expired coupons, birthday cards, and a manila envelope with my name written in Nana's cursive. Heart hammering, I pulled it out. Inside were 8 letters, each neatly folded, each with a check dated and signed. I skimmed them, mouth dry. So proud of you, darling. Use this for books or a treat. Love, Nana. Saw your name on the dean's list again. You make us so proud. Every single letter was addressed to me, yet none had made it to my hands. Some checks were endorsed by Dad. Others? Deposited with Blake family account, scribbled across the back. I couldn't breathe. A sticky note fell out. Different handwriting. Mom's. Don't forget to shred after deposit. My knees buckled slightly, hand gripping the desk edge. Shred? After deposit? They didn't just misplace these. They concealed them, erased them. I sank into Dad's leather chair, nausea rising. All those nights I'd broken down over FAFSA forms. All those awkward money talks where they wished they could help. They already had help. They just rerouted it like water away from a fire. I took pictures of everything. Every letter, every check, every betrayal written in ballpoint. By the time I heard footsteps in the hallway, I was already standing. Dad appeared in the doorway, lips pressed tight. You went through my drawers? You went through my life, I snapped. He stepped inside. You don't understand. That money, it kept us afloat. You think this house pays for itself? I didn't ask for a big house. I asked for honesty. We were drowning, Jen. His voice cracked. Your mother cried herself to sleep some nights, wondering how we'd pay the mortgage. So you stole from me? We borrowed. Without consent, I said, sharper than I intended. He leaned on the desk. It was never about hurting you. It was about keeping everything together. And lying was part of that plan? He looked away. That was answer enough. Mom appeared in the hallway, her face pale. Please, don't destroy us over a mistake. A mistake is forgetting a birthday, not intercepting $72,000. I moved toward the door. I'm going to Rachel's. I need air, and I need to not hate you both. Jennifer! Mom's voice caught. Wait, can we talk more tonight? I paused. If you find more letters, don't shred them. Then I walked out. Out of the house. Out of the lie. Into a Texas sun that suddenly felt like freedom and fury combined. Rachel opened the door in pajama pants and a bewildered squint. Did someone die? Not yet, I muttered, stepping in with my duffel bag slung over one shoulder and a manila folder under my arm like it held nuclear codes. In a way it did. Rachel and I had been best friends since sophomore year. We shared everything from ramen recipes to heartbreak playlists, but this morning all I could offer was a stiff hug and a mumbled, I need to crash, just for a few days. She didn't ask for details. She just pointed toward the futon and said, sheets are clean, and my Wi-Fi password is still cats for president. You want tea? Tea. A lifeline. I nodded. Later, in the silence of her living room, sunlight cutting geometric shadows across the carpet, I laid out the evidence like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Photos of the intercepted letters, the annotated checks, the sticky note, and a long, sick list I had started on my phone titled, Where My College Fund Went, mortgage payments, credit card debt, a new water heater, even a cruise I never got to go on, celebrating their anniversary, on a deal too good to pass up. My phone buzzed. A message from Mom. We never wanted it to come out this way. Please let us explain. Explain what? That my dreams had an asterisk? That every financial burden I'd lugged around like a backpack full of bricks had been avoidable? Rachel sat beside me, peering at the evidence. Okay, this is wild. What are you gonna do? I don't know. Which was only partly true. Part of me already knew. This wasn't just a family squabble. This was theft, dressed in parental guilt. I have to go back, I said, standing. I want them to say it, out loud. Back at the house, the air felt like a held breath. Mom was in the living room, twisting her wedding ring. Dad sat on the edge of the couch like a kid waiting outside the principal's office. I found the letters, I said, not bothering with small talk. Dad looked down. We knew you would. Then why leave them? Because part of us wanted to be caught, Mom whispered, living with that lie. It eats at you. No, I said, voice cold. It eats at me. While you got to sleep soundly. She flinched. We didn't sleep. I pulled out the photos and laid them on the coffee table. I want you to tell me, clearly no euphemisms, what you did. Dad swallowed. We took the checks, deposited them into our account, told ourselves we'd repay you someday. We didn't. And the letters? Kept them, to avoid Nana asking questions. I stared. So this was deliberate. He nodded, shame settling in like a stain. Yes. Silence stretched out, thick and unbearable. Then I asked the question I hadn't dared voice until now. What was so bad that you needed to steal from your own daughter? He met my eyes. I tried starting a business, a mobile tech repair van. Bought the van, tools, marketing. Thought it would take off. He shrugged. A man drowning in regret. It didn't, Mom added softly. We kept thinking next month, it'll be okay. Next month, we'll fix it. But next month never came. The cruelty wasn't just in the act. It was in the years of pretending they couldn't help when they could. Watching me stretch, strain, suffer, silently. I stood. You should have come to me. I would have understood desperation. But you didn't give me the chance. Mom reached out. Please, Jennifer, what do we do now? I looked down at her hand. Then I looked at the truth sprawled across the table. I'm going to move out. I need space. And I'm going to start documenting everything. All the funds, the letters, the deposits. I deserve restitution. Dad opened his mouth, but I held up a hand. No more talk. I'm done listening to stories. From now on, I deal in facts. And with that, I walked out again. Only this time, it felt different. The first time, I left with heartbreak. This time, I left with clarity. Rachel cleared a corner of her tiny kitchen table so I could set up what I now called the war room. It was cluttered in that charming, chaotic way, mugs with slogans like coffee first, feelings later, sticky notes with forgotten passwords, and a succulent named Jeff, clinging to life by sheer will. I can't believe you're actually doing this, she said, setting down a peanut butter sandwich next to my growing mountain of receipts and scanned letters. You're building a case. I'm not trying to be dramatic, I said, though the spreadsheet on my laptop screamed otherwise. Color-coded columns, itemized by month, with one total blinking at me like an accusation. $72,000. 07. That 7 cents felt personal. You're not being dramatic, Rachel said gently. You're being methodical. And if anyone deserves that money back, it's you. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was focused, cold. The kind of cold that made things sharp. Every letter from Nana got logged, photographed, and dated. I matched her handwritten amounts with the deposits I found in Dad's account, some made just hours after postmarked delivery. I cross-referenced it with copies of my loan payments and tuition fees. I even dug into my email, pulling up statements from the school. Zero evidence that any outside contributions had ever reached them under my name. The evidence wasn't just damning, it was airtight. That night, I called my Uncle Robert. He was Mom's older brother, a tax consultant with a face that always looked slightly unimpressed. We hadn't spoken much in years, but Nana had once called him the only one in this family with both conscience and calculator skills. I dialed, bracing for awkward. Jennifer? He answered, cautious. Hey, Uncle Robert, I need your help. It's about Nana's checks. A pause. You found them. I blinked. Wait, you knew? I knew she was sending something. She kept asking me why the amounts weren't showing on your FAFSA or tax records. So you suspected? He sighed. Your parents have been underwater for years, but I never imagined they'd… Well, you need to tell me everything. So I did. For 45 minutes, I recited the breakdown like testimony. He didn't interrupt, just listened. When I finished, there was silence. Then, you've got enough to file. Civil restitution. It won't be easy, but it's clean. You did the work. I felt something unfamiliar then, a strange, breathless pride. Not just in the documentation, but in not flinching, not backing down. I don't want to ruin them, I whispered. You're not ruining them, he said gently. They did that when they took your future to patch their failures. He paused. But I'll help you, if you want. Tears welled up, hot and unexpected. I nodded, forgetting he couldn't see. Yeah, I want. Later, I texted Nana a simple photo, one of her letters, folded open, my name circled in highlighter, next to a line that read, "For your books, my darling genius." She replied almost instantly. I trusted them. I trusted they'd love you like I did. We'll fix this together. That night, Rachel found me sitting at the table long after midnight, staring at my laptop screen. You okay? I shook my head, then nodded. I don't know. She sat beside me, her hand on mine. What are you going to do now? I'm going to file the complaint, I said quietly. Not to punish, to correct, to reclaim what's mine. The printer buzzed to life as I hit print on the official notice. One click, one breath. And now, nothing would be the same. I didn't hear the shattering, but I felt it, like a tremor under the floorboards, the moment Uncle Robert hand-delivered the envelope to my parents' front porch. No one was home, thankfully. Just the wind rustling the hydrangeas and the tight-lipped truth tucked inside a manila folder marked Civil Complaint, Jennifer L. Blake versus Thomas and Elaine Blake. Financial misappropriation. He handed me a duplicate for my records. His face unreadable. It's official now, he said. They'll have to respond within 20 days. My throat felt dry. Do you think they'll hate me for this? He considered. Probably. At first. But sometimes hate is just fear with a louder voice. The next day, the calls started. First Mom, then Dad, then silence, then boom. The extended family group chat erupted. Aunt Claire. What is this about a lawsuit? Cousin Drew. Wait, Jen's suing her parents? Uncle Todd. This is between them. Let's not take sides. Nana. I'm proud of her for demanding accountability. The truth needed light. And just like that, what started in whispers over pasta turned into family-wide tremors. I didn't respond. I watched as years of carefully curated images cracked. My perfect parents, the we'd do anything for our daughter myth, the polite holiday smiles, all of it, splintered. At Rachel's, I tried to keep a low profile. I had classes to prepare for, financial aid forms to revise. Because yes, I still had to fix the real problem. What came next? And then came the knock. I opened the door, heart already racing. It was Dad. He looked old, not in years, but in soul, like something had been hollowed out. A man who once paced soccer sidelines with thunderous pep now stood with his shoulders rounded, voice barely above a whisper. Can we talk? I didn't invite him in, but I stepped outside. He held the complaint in his hand, wrinkled and damp at the corners. You really filed. I really did. He exhaled hard, like he'd been hoping for another answer. Your mom hasn't stopped crying. She didn't stop lying either. He flinched. I didn't want this, I said quietly. I wanted the truth. I wanted to stop pretending I was crazy for asking where it all went. We were desperate, he murmured. You have to understand. I failed, and I was ashamed. So you passed that failure on to me? My voice cracked. You let me sink under debt so you could stay dry? Silence stretched long and jagged. Then, something shifted. His jaw unclenched. His hands trembled. You're right. You're completely right. I blinked. I read your spreadsheet, he said, pulling out a printed copy I hadn't realized he'd found. Every line, every dollar. You did what I couldn't. Face the truth. He looked up at me, eyes glassy. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Not the kind of sorry that fixes things, but the kind that doesn't ask for a shortcut. For a moment, the ache inside me stuttered. Not gone, but acknowledged. I still have to go through with it, I said. He nodded. I know, I won't fight it. And then he handed me a letter, handwritten. It's for your grandmother. Tell her I'll pay her back too. I took it with shaking hands. As he turned to go, I said, Dad? He paused. I loved you better when I thought you were broken honest, not rich in lies. He nodded once, eyes lowered. I loved you better when I thought I still deserved you. And then he walked away. It was a Tuesday, quiet, ordinary in every way except for the envelope waiting in my university inbox, thick, official, and instantly nauseating. Inside was a notice from the Office of Student Integrity. Subject: possible misrepresentation of financial aid documentation. My stomach dropped so hard I had to grip the bench outside the admin building just to breathe. I'd seen this letter before, but only when tutoring a classmate who'd been caught forging transcripts. Now my name was at the top, my ID number, a scheduled disciplinary review. I read the accusation 3 times before the words started making sense. It had come to their attention that financial aid awarded to me might have been based on falsified or incomplete disclosures. Specifically, external contributions like scholarships or gifts that had not been reported on official FAFSA documents. The checks. Nana's money. I felt the heat rise behind my eyes. Not tears, rage. Somewhere between betrayal and restitution, someone, somehow, had flagged the missing money and made it look like I'd hidden it on purpose. I'd spent 4 years fighting to stay above water, and now they were threatening to revoke my aid? I took the notice to Uncle Robert immediately. He read it, stone-faced. They think you were hiding income, he said, because technically, if those checks had been reported, it would have impacted your aid package. But I never received them, I said, pacing. How is this real? I didn't even know they existed until Nana spilled the truth, he nodded. You've got documentation, timelines, bank trails. We'll need to build a statement, prove you were unaware, and had no control. I sank into the chair across from him. They're gonna treat me like I'm the criminal. No, he said calmly. They're going to treat you like someone who challenges the system, and the system doesn't like being challenged. The disciplinary board hearing was set for the following week. Until then, I had to sit in classes knowing I was under suspicion. Professors glanced at me differently. One even pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay at home. I wanted to laugh. What part of home was still okay? That night, I sat with Rachel on her tiny couch, a pint of Rocky Road between us. This is insane, she muttered, reading the letter. You've done everything right. And still got accused? I said, spoon midair. This is how it happens, isn't it? You claw your way up, and then someone pulls the rug. Except the rug is your own family. Rachel looked at me, her eyes wide and oddly steady. So, pull it back. Show them the floor they thought you'd fall through's made of iron. Her words stuck with me, so I got to work. That week, I compiled every message from Nana, every postmarked envelope, every dated deposit I didn't receive. I even found old text messages from Dad mentioning, quote, tight finances that coincided with Nana's transfers. I drafted a full statement for the board, detailed and damning. Uncle Robert helped format it like legal testimony. Rachel helped make it human. By the time the hearing came, I didn't feel like a scared girl in a hoodie. I felt like a woman with fire in her pocket and facts on her side. The university hearing room was colder than it needed to be, one of those institutional spaces designed to intimidate. White walls, a long oval table, and 3 committee members seated like judges in a low-budget courtroom drama. I took a deep breath and stepped in, portfolio in hand. My heart beat so loudly I swore it echoed off the linoleum. The chairwoman, Dr. Battelle, gestured for me to sit. Jennifer Blake, thank you for coming. You've read the allegations? Yes, I said carefully, and I'm here to clear them. There were no handcuffs, no gavel, but the silence carried the weight of judgment. They began with standard protocol, reading the accusation line for line, highlighting how my FAFSA didn't reflect substantial financial support received from a familial benefactor. Their words, not mine. Do you acknowledge receiving $1,500 monthly from a third-party family member during your undergraduate tenure? The man on the left asked. His nameplate read, Dr. Egan. I acknowledge that those payments were made, I said clearly, but I never received them. They exchanged glances. Dr. Patel leaned forward. Can you elaborate? So I told them, not just about the checks, but about the letters, the interception, the lies. I handed over the documentation like puzzle pieces, scanned copies of every check, postmarked envelopes, photos of the handwritten letters never opened by me. I showed them the signed deposition from Nana stating she had sent the funds with the intent that I receive them directly for school. Then came the timeline. Every date lined up with my financial hardship appeals, my loan disbursements, my late-night barista shifts documented with pay stubs. Each point connected like bricks in a fortress I had built from scratch. And finally, I handed over my statement. Personal, honest, razor sharp. I never knowingly misrepresented anything, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I was lied to, stolen from, and yet I'm the one sitting here defending my integrity. That's fine. I'll defend it, but I won't let my family's mistake become my scarlet letter. Silence. The panel requested a short recess. I stepped outside, pacing the hallway, trying not to imagine worst-case scenarios. Loss of aid, a black mark on my academic record, public shame. Rachel had texted me, "You're not alone in that room. We're all behind you." When I was called back in, the air felt different, like something had cracked open. Dr. Patel cleared her throat. "Jennifer, thank you for your candor. We've reviewed your evidence thoroughly." She looked at her colleagues, then back at me. "It is the committee's consensus that the omission was not intentional, nor within your knowledge. Therefore, no action will be taken against you." I blinked. "Wait, you mean you're cleared," she said. "Your financial aid will remain intact. But we strongly advise submitting an amended FAFSA reflecting the situation and a letter from your grandmother verifying her intent." I nodded, tears threatening. "I can do that." As I walked out of that building, the weight didn't vanish, but it shifted. The truth hadn't just spoken, it had screamed. Hospitals smell like rubbing alcohol and forgotten promises. I hadn't planned to see my parents again so soon, but when Rachel's phone lit up with Nana's voice tight with worry, "Your father's in the ER. Chest pains. They're running tests." I knew I had to go, not out of guilt, not from forgiveness, but because some roots run deeper than rage. The waiting room was sterile and too bright. Nana sat with her hands folded over her purse, eyes scanning the hallway like a sentry. Mom stood by the vending machine, looking small in her oversized cardigan. When she saw me, her breath caught. "Jennifer!" I gave her a nod, just enough to acknowledge, not enough to invite. Nana reached for my hand. "He's stable," she whispered. It might have been panic. Stress. Stress? From the truth finally catching up? I sat across from them, silence thick between us. Minutes passed. Then the nurse came to say we could see him, one at a time. "I'll go first," I said before Mom could speak. Dad lay there in a thin hospital gown, color slowly returning to his face. Tubes in his arm, monitor blinking steadily beside him. He looked up, surprised. "You came." "I'm not here to coddle," I said softly, "but I didn't want to hear about your condition through a grapevine." He nodded. "I deserve that." I sat, the chair cold against my back. "You scared them." "I scared myself," he admitted. "Thought I was dying." "You should have thought of that before you signed my name onto silence." His eyes welled up. "You know what the scariest part was? Not the pain. The idea that I wouldn't get a chance to tell you everything I did. I thought I could fix it. Eventually." I let the words hang there, then said, "Eventually doesn't come when you steal the present." He swallowed. "I'm sorry." I stood. "You said that. Now it's time to live like you mean it." As I stepped out, Mom was waiting. Her eyes searched mine. "Can we talk?" "Not now," I said. "There's still too much between us that hasn't been accounted for." She didn't argue. She just nodded, tears clinging to her lashes. Back in the waiting room, Nana touched my arm. "You didn't yell." "I didn't need to," I said. The truth already did. The living room at Nana's house had always been a soft place to land. Lace doilies on the side tables, the scent of lemon polish, photos of me at every stage from kindergarten to college. But today, it felt like a courtroom. She had summoned everyone. Mom, Dad, Uncle Robert, even Aunt Claire, who had once famously claimed she was too busy for drama. They all sat stiffly in floral upholstered chairs, the air thick with what no one dared say first. Nana stood, small but commanding. I think we've all had enough secrets. My father winced. My mother clasped her hands so tightly her knuckles turned white. Nana held up one of the letters, the same ones I'd found in Dad's drawer, still bearing her flowing handwriting. I wrote these with pride, with love. I thought I was helping my granddaughter build her future. She turned to Dad, her voice sharp. You took my gift and used it to hide your mistakes. Mom, please, he started. No, her tone cracked like a whip. You lied. To her. To me. Mom reached for his hand, but Nana's gaze didn't soften. You didn't just take money, she said. You stole trust. And now Jennifer has to live with scars you carved without a knife. Uncle Robert cleared his throat. I've helped her file a formal record. The documents are done. But this family needs something else too. What? Mom whispered. Accountability, I said, my voice steady. And a plan. I pulled out a copy of the itemized list. The checks, their values, dates, and purposes. I want restitution. Not to punish you, but to make this right. Dad looked up. How? Nana pulled out a second envelope. You'll repay what you took, every month, to Jennifer, starting now. He looked like he wanted to protest, then thought better of it. I'll do it, he said quietly. Mom's eyes welled. We never meant to. I know, I said, but you did. The silence that followed wasn't bitter, just real, raw, and strangely cleansing. Later, as we packed up, Nana hugged me tight. You didn't just stand up for yourself, you stood up for truth. That's harder than most people ever manage. I hugged her back. You're the reason I could. 3 weeks later, we met at a quiet brunch spot just off Main Street. Neutral ground. No lace tablecloths, no family portraits watching from the walls, just the clinking of silverware, the low hum of conversations, and one envelope resting between us like a peace offering. My father handed it to me across the table. The first payment, he said. As promised, I didn't smile, but I nodded. He looked older again, not from illness this time, but from ownership, the kind that comes when you finally admit you're the one who broke what mattered. I talked to the bank, he added. We're setting up automatic transfers. No delays. Mom sat beside him, quieter than I'd ever seen her. She wasn't wearing makeup, no attempt to mask the weight in her eyes. I wrote something, she said suddenly, pulling a folded page from her purse. A letter, to you, about everything. I took it, unsure if I'd ever open it, but I said thank you. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that isn't hostile, just hollow. Then Dad looked up. I know this doesn't fix what we did. No, I said gently, but it's a start. He nodded. I hope someday we earn back even a piece of what we lost. I didn't respond, because some losses aren't recoverable. Some are meant to leave marks. After brunch, I walked alone through the park near campus. The Texas air was warm, buzzing with cicadas and newness. I passed the library steps where I'd once cried over tuition forms, back when I thought my struggle was noble. Now, I understood it had been unnecessary. The lesson wasn't in how I survived it. It was in how I refused to let it be rewritten as noble sacrifice, when it was really theft. Rachel texted, "You free for Thai and a victory toast tonight?" I typed back, "Absolutely. Extra spring rolls." I looked at the check in my bag. The first repayment. Proof that truth could move mountains, not just make enemies. I wasn't whole, not yet, but I was unbroken, stronger, and more mine than I'd ever been. Have you ever walked away from someone you still loved because the truth demanded it? What did that strength look like for you? Tell me below, because maybe this isn't just my story, maybe it's yours too.